My comic shop closed 7 years ago, but along my journey, I've met other stores with colorful communities all their own. One of those is Fat Moose Comics in Whippany, New Jersey, the oldest in the Garden State. Now, as it celebrates its milestone 40th anniversary, I am speaking with Fat Moose owners, staff, and customers through the years. This is their comic shop history. Welcome to Oldest in New Jersey, a My Comic Shop history event. I'm your host, Anthony Desiato. Joining me for part 4, the finale, is once again the owner of Fat Moose Comics, Shawn Hendricks. Welcome back.
Hey pal, how's it going?
By the time people hear this in May, mid-May is when this episode releases, you will have celebrated a trio of momentous occasions: the 40th anniversary of Fat Moose, your 13th anniversary with the lovely Nicole, and your 50th birthday. So I just want to say right off the bat, congratulations on everything.
Yeah, it's a heavy month. There's Easter, which I don't really care one way or the other, but I realized today that this Sunday is Easter Sunday. Perfect justification to close the store for a day. So I'm going to get 2 days off in a row, Sunday and Monday, because we're always closed on Mondays, and I am over the moon about it.
Very nice. Well, that's well-deserved rest, and I know it's been a really busy, really exciting time. Over the course of these past 3 episodes, obviously you and I spoke. I spoke with Moose founder Elon and 2 members of the Fat Moose herd, Phil and Gene. And in the time since the last recording, the 40th anniversary has occurred. The bash happened. I was able to be there for a little bit of it, and I got to experience some of it. I got to experience even more of it through photos and videos online. So I guess just my first question, man, how was it? Did it live up to everything that you wanted it to be?
It was kind of perfect, honestly. I mean, the 2 weeks leading up to it was just nothing but stress. I don't think I even told you this. The Thursday before the party, I almost went back to the ER. I just was go. I did 2 weeks without a break, no day off. We were here on Mondays, me and Nicole. Well, she was here on a Monday and a Tuesday, but the Monday before that, I was here to get the carpet in. So I went 2 straight weeks, no time off, running around, stressing out, making sure everything was ready, making sure the wonderful Tom Rainey had the artwork ready to go, the custom piece that he did for us. And I guess I wasn't really taking care of myself, falling back into old bad habits. And that Thursday, Justin came in, and a friend of the store, Lisa, came in to help last minute things. And I just fell apart. I just couldn't stay. Was dizzy. I was sweaty. It was just the nightmare all over again of being malnourished and no sleep and dehydrated. And thank God Justin was here. He was like, just go home. I'll cover this. I got everything, anything last minute we need to do, we could do tomorrow. The place is like 96% done. So I went home, and Nicole was like, what are you doing home? And she looked at me. She's like, holy crap. She's like, all right, come on now. You're going to emergency care. And or whatever they call it, right? That's it.
Urgent care.
Urgent care. Thank you. So we went there, and they wouldn't see me because apparently I have the wrong kind of insurance. I got some, real low budget, broke ass insurance thing. And so then Nicole was like, I'm going to bring you to the hospital. I said, no. Because if you do that, what if they keep me overnight? I got too much to do tomorrow. Playing it fast and loose with my health as always. And so I went home. I had some chicken noodle soup and a couple crackers and a ton of water, and went to bed early. And the next day I felt mostly better, still a little off my game, but by Saturday I was back to my normal weird self. But yeah, it was just that much work, that much stress. But leading up to the party itself was great. I had such a good time. It was the perfect amount of people. It was steady, but it was never too crowded where we had to turn people away or make people wait outside. Even if we had to, the weather was decent enough, a little breezy, but it was fine. And the brewery across the street that's not open yet, they let us use their lot as a spillover lot. That's where you parked, I believe.
It is.
Yeah. And people brought me gifts of alcohol and snacks and artwork. And I can't even begin to list who did what, who brought what, who helped out how, because I'd forget somebody and then, someone would get upset. But everybody had a really good time. I didn't have any complaints. We made some decent money. I spent a chunk of that money on the original piece of art from Tom Rainey because I had to have it. It was custom made for the store. And at the end of the day, a few customers stuck around to help me tidy up. And we had a couple cocktails and called it a night. By the time I got home, though, I was done. Nicole was trying to have conversations with me. I was like, sweetheart, I love you to death, but I can't talk anymore today. Like, I was just singing and dancing all damn day, you know?
Well, it takes a lot out of you. It's draining, the event itself, and then certainly the lead up to it. Well, I'm sorry to hear that your health was once again at risk. I don't know what I could possibly say that you don't already know and that I and others haven't already said.
I know. I'm a moron. I get it. It's self-neglect, and I'm working on it. I'm always working on it. I eating more, and drinking less and trying to get more sleep. The next step would be to actually do some form of exercise. So I'm working my way towards that.
I mean, if nothing else, you have those stairs. That's not nothing.
Good cardio. Well, actually, I spoke with our friend Justin DeVoe, who was here. He's no stranger to the gym.
No.
And I told him I have a very good idea for a video involving comic shops and exercise. And we're going to hopefully work on that. He actually signed up for a reserve box.
I know.
Yeah. So that'd be cool. We get along, man. He's a good dude. We're out in the parking lot talking for a few minutes. You know, super nice guy. Wouldn't want to fight him.
No.
Not a small person. He's jacked, man.
No, but Justin's awesome. Watching the transformation that he has gone through over these past couple of years, and he had already been in great shape and he had done the Lobo cosplay thing, but what he's done most recently is just incredible. And he's just the most gregarious, warm-hearted person, you know, you'll ever meet. And on a related note, I know he signed up for a pull list at your shop. You know, listeners of my podcasts have heard commercials for Justin's Instagram and his training program. And this is the kind of guy he is. He decided he wanted to pay that forward. So moving forward, people are going to start to hear Fat Moose commercials. And that's a result of Justin.
Yeah, you texted me that yesterday. And I jotted down a note today. I had meant to thank him, but I guess I'll do that tomorrow. Today got a little bit away from me because it's Tuesday, so you got to get all the new books ready and sorted and stuff. So I just wrapped it up just as it was time to do this little Zoom meeting.
Yes. So no, Justin's awesome. I'm glad you guys had that time. I'll just say from my perspective, because we always have to bring it back to alternate realities.
Take a shot.
Yep, there you go, Phil. Phil's a dad. He can't be knocking back those shots. You know, you got to stay alert.
Much to begin with, he's smarter than me.
But Rich Roney and Steve Odo and I were all there, and I spoke to Rich afterwards. We had our weekly phone call, and what he and I were talking about was how at alternate realities we experienced something similar to you when the shop was closing, in that people from all of the different eras of the store came back and paid their respects and made toasts and helped. And there was something really heartwarming about that. But the big difference was that the store was about to close. So it was so bittersweet because that was hanging over all of us and emotions were high. Here, it was so beautiful because it was all the positives of what we had experienced, but without that tinge of sadness. So, you know, just seeing all of these people who have shopped at Moose, worked at Moose, owned Moose, you know, come through and give you gifts and make toasts and hang out and buy stuff and get sketches, all of that. It was so cool. It was a little bittersweet because it's like, you know, we're actually coming up on what would have been the 30th anniversary of Alternate Realities. And so it's one of those things. It's like, we could have had an anniversary like this again for all of the reasons we've talked about on the show. It's for the best that our store closed, but it was just, I couldn't help but think that as I was watching the Moose community go through this, it's like, man, we had a version of this, but this is just like the best parts of it. So it was so cool to see.
Didn't we almost have it all? I'll tell you, it was a great day. There were a few moments where I got a little choked up. Like I had to go step outside onto the fire escape and just take a breath, you know, because everybody was so nice and complimentary and everybody was so, you know, genuinely happy to be there and to help out. And, yeah, there were a few moments where I was just like, okay, I'm going to just kind of step outside, catch my breath because my eyes are getting a little watery and, I don't want anybody to see that. Even now, just talking about it, I feel myself getting slightly emotional because it was such an outpouring of friendship and fun.
Yeah. I saw the video that you put up on the Moose YouTube channel very shortly thereafter. And it was very touching because you could see, you were still riding the high of the event. And, we're recording this now about 10 days or so after the big party. So, which I thought would be a nice balance because it's close enough. It's still, present, but, it's not like, oh, months have gone by. But when you put up that video, it was really touching because you could really see how much the event and all of the people, how much it all meant to you. If anyone hasn't watched it, I do encourage them to. I mean, it's not like you're breaking down weeping, but you really get to see it. It was really nice.
Well, I guess we should mention that, yes, I have a Fat Moose Comics YouTube channel. So if you're not familiar with it, just type in Fat Moose Comics on YouTube. There's no shortage of dumb ass videos on there featuring puppets and songs and things. But yeah, that one was from the heart.
Wait, can I just say, speaking of videos from the heart, so I wasn't there for this part of it, but I know that Sean Wolf, buddy of yours who runs Cooking with Stupid, who did a big auction for the benefit of Moose at the height of the pandemic. And I know he's been a great friend and, a supporter of the store. He gave this toast. And again, I wasn't there for it, but Rich Roney told me about it afterwards. And Justin DeVoe, shout out again to Justin, sent me a video of it.
Oh, I haven't seen the video.
And it was amazing to see. I don't think Sean would mind. I mean, he said this publicly at the store, so I don't think he would mind, but he told this incredible story. I did not know his backstory at all. So I was really floored by this, but he told a story about how he used to have a drug addiction and he met his dealer at Moose decades ago when it was in a mall. And while he was waiting for his dealer, he picked up a copy of New Teen Titans #1, got his drugs, went home, read the issue before doing his drugs, liked it so much that, if I'm remembering the story correctly, he went back to the store that day, bought a ton more stuff, came home, and before he could do his drugs, he got a call from his dealer to say, hey, that was a bad batch. I killed 3 people. I mean, I get chills even just thinking about it. For comics and a comic shop to change the course of someone's life, and he's been sober now for decades. I mean, I can only imagine what that must feel like and what appreciation he must have for comics and for Moose. I mean, you talk about living on borrowed time. You talk about a second chance. You talk about just this opportunity for rebirth. I was stunned.
Comics save lives, kids, But yeah, he told me that story early on, maybe the second or so time that we met. But yeah, Sean's become a good friend. The one thing you did miss out on is he brought his famous cheeseburger lasagna bake. A huge tray of it's like dough and cheese and pickles and tater tots and ground beef and onion. It's an amazing dish. So he brought a big one of those, and it was hot most of the time, but we have the microwave now. So at the end of the day, I reheated some. My pal Mike Poplowski showed up, brought his tactical bartending kit, his James Bond bartending kit. We set up a table in the back room, and the adults could go back there and have a Vesper martini. Yeah, it was a lot. It was actually, though, mentioning Sean's speech, I had this one moment because I am an asshole at heart. Right when he was done and emotions were high, I was like, ladies and gentlemen, I have an announcement to make. I'm closing the store. It's just like, I'm done. This is not only a celebration. This is also a farewell. Store's closing in a week, just to see. But I didn't want to step on his moment because that would have been a dick move. So I didn't do that. So I'm a big fan of pulling little practical jokes like that. And I thought this is not the right time for that sort of thing.
I think that was the right call. I think this was definitely a moment where it just needed to sort of sit there for a moment and let everyone take it in. It was, and I appreciate that Justin took that video and sent it. It was very powerful.
I have to bother him to send it to me because a few people were filming it, but I haven't seen anybody post it. So I'll have to reach out and see. I'd like to see it from out there because I was standing next to him while he told the story. So
yeah. Now I know I've mentioned a couple of times, I was only there for a little bit. I missed a bunch of stuff. I was very uncomfortable being inside, COVID wise.
I understand.
And I appreciate you being so understanding. For any Moose people who were like, oh, why didn't Anthony stay longer? Or if they saw me and they were like, oh, I didn't say much. I've talked about this on the show. We've been taking the COVID thing very seriously, mostly because we have a toddler who can't get vaccinated yet. And so, the vast majority of the stuff we do is outdoors or it's indoors masked. And so I purposely got to the store right after 11 that day. I left. I have to tell you, though, not a bad drive because it's mostly highway for me. So it's like an hour and 3 minutes.
No, nice.
And so I got there right after 11. I figured get the right there at the start of the day. And I pulled into the lot and I saw all the spots were full. I was like, okay. And so I went across the street to the overflow parking at the brewery and I came up and, I walked, and it's not like it was a wall to wall people, but there were a good bit of people there right from the start. And I was instantly uncomfortable.
Well, you said something to me and it touched me. You were like, listen, man, just the fact that I came into this building with these people here shows you how much I care about you and this, because you're like, otherwise I would not be within a mile of this place,
And I meant it. It's like, I haven't, I didn't see Spider-Man No Way Home in theaters. I didn't see Batman in theaters. Like that's fine. But I had, that's the thing. It's like, even if I had just waved to you from the parking lot, it's like, I was not going to miss that because, you've been a great friend and I'm so proud of what you've accomplished and what the shop has meant to so many people. So, including myself. So no, I was definitely going to be there. I wish I could have stayed longer, but I got to tell you, so Steve, Rich and I, we had our little reunion in the overflow parking lot. We were out there for a while and, Nick Jones, another buddy of ours, and DeVoe, they came over with their sons for a bit, but it was fun. I mean, I talk to Rich weekly, but I haven't seen him in a really long time. I haven't seen Steve either. And he and I don't have those regular phone call check-ins. I mean, we'll text once in a while, we'll interact over Facebook. And then when he's on the podcast, that's mostly when we talk. But so I hadn't, certainly hadn't been in the same space with those guys for a long time. So it was really, really a lot of fun to be able to connect with
you guys here together, the little AR representatives, and Steve brought me a very nice Dark Knight Strikes Again statue. It's Batman and God, I haven't read the book in so long.
Carrie Kelly?
Is it Carrie? She's dressed in like a leopard outfit.
Yeah, the one where she's on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the Dark Knight Strikes Again one.
Right. So Steve hands it to me. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you. He goes, it's a crappy statue. I go, no, it was a crappy book. It's a great statue. He goes, well, I mean, if you don't want it, you could sell it. I'm like, no, this is mine, man. It's sitting home now in the box still because I really don't have a place to put it right now, but I will find a place because that was really nice. I'm like, are you sure? I mean, you don't want to throw this up on eBay with everything else? He's like, nope, this is for you. Congratulations. That was really nice. And we had a couple brief conversations. I gave him a giant trash bag full of bubble wrap and a giant trash bag full of that, the thin brown paper that you use to wrap up things and pack it. Cause I saved it. I was like, I got a ton of packing stuff if you want it. He's like, oh, absolutely. Because, then he's doing all the eBay stuff. And I told him, I said, I love your posts about eBay because it reminds me not to mess with eBay. I said, there are days when I'm like, you know what? I'm going to pull a Steve out. I'm going to close the store. There's a storage unit like half a mile from my house. I'll put everything in there and I'll just sit at home with my gal and our cats and I'll just sell stuff on eBay. But then I see his little horror story posts about, the people complaining about this or they're trying to lowball them or this didn't come soon enough for my taste. So I'm going to report you to eBay police or whatever. And I said, you know what? I don't want to do it. I'm going to keep the store open until the day I drop dead because I don't want to deal with eBay. I've never purchased nor sold anything on eBay and I don't see that changing anytime soon.
You've never bought anything on eBay?
No, I hate it.
Oh.
I just hate the whole paradigm of it. I don't like it.
It's funny. I've bought and sold on eBay. I haven't sold in many, many years, but I've had like a few, maybe 3 waves of buying things on eBay in my life. And I hadn't bought anything in a long time. But when I started digging for Kryptonite, the Superman show, I found that there was a lot of stuff that, and I've ranted about this on that show, so I'll spare people going through that again. But there's a lot of stuff that is not available either digitally or in print. So I have been going to eBay where I can't get stuff elsewhere. But yeah, his posts, again, I said to him in the parking lot, I'm like, as long as you're enjoying yourself, right? And overall he is, but yeah, some of those posts are amazing. And then, our mutual friend, Chris Wilcock of Undiscovered Realm, he had posted something recently. I don't think this was eBay. I think this was someone trying to buy stuff through the Undiscovered Realm website. But the question was like, why does the shipping price go up every time I add items?
Well, Chris Wilcock, I got to give him a shout out too, man. What a nice guy. The day that I wasn't feeling well, the Thursday that I left early, I went home, I was resting up, and I called the shop, check in with Justin, see what's going on. And he goes, oh, a box showed up for you. And it was from Undiscovered Realm. So I had to open it. I'm sorry. Should I not have opened it? I'm like, you can open it. What was it? He goes, it's that Ghost Rider Blacklight pop that you wanted. And I was like, what? Because it's a long story that I shan't bore everybody with. But we had talked months ago that I was looking for this pop, and he said he might be getting one, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, he got one and he sent it to me. So the next day when I came in, I texted him. I was like, hey, man, thank you so much. What do I owe you? And what do you prefer? Venmo, PayPal, I'll mail you a check, or do you want to trade for something? And he goes, no, man, that's yours. I know you wanted it. Congratulations. Happy anniversary. Enjoy. And I was like, no, man, come on. I can't, because that thing is kind of rare. It was like an online exclusive. And I said, well, I got to do something for you. I was like, listen, I know you're busy. You got the shop, you got the tattoo place, you got the kid now. I said, but if you can ever make it to my store, you're going to get the royal treatment. And you want something, it's yours. I was blown away. And with all the stress leading up to the sale and the party, that meant a lot. That took a lot of some of the pain out of all the preparation. And the other thing I have to thank you for, well, more specifically, also Phil-tastic Phil and Gene, because the night before the party, I listened, you sent me in advance, listen to their episode, which by the time this airs, that one will have come out.
Mm-hmm.
I think, April 19th, I believe, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I stayed up later than I should have. I was like, I'll listen to 10 minutes. And I found myself listening to the whole thing. But towards the end of that, to put it bluntly, they're singing my praises, which is, mostly undeserved. But I was so blown away and so touched by it that it really gave me like that kind of surge of motivation and strength. Like, yes, all right, I must be doing something right, because everybody's being so complimentary about what I've done. And it really carried me through the day. And when Phil was here, I thanked him profusely. That was one of the moments where I was like, oh, excuse me a minute. And I walked outside to compose myself. And the same with Gene. Gene, by the way, was very bummed. He got here late and he missed the whole AR crew. But that's on him, man. He got here late. There's nothing I can do about that. But to hear the three of you, just being positive about me, I've listened to that episode 3 times. Whenever I'm feeling down, I'm like, let me listen to that. That'll cheer me up a bit. So I thank all 3 of you for that.
I'm glad that it was able to do that and that we got it to you in time. I can identify, especially, it's in a different realm, right? You were preparing for this big event and your business, but with the various creative projects I've done, it's always one of those things where, you hope you've done something good, and sometimes it can be hard to judge. And so I know, like, when someone, leaves a nice review or sends a nice message about the documentary or the podcast, it's like, that really means a lot. Like, it can make my day. Cause it's like, at the end of the day, I stand by everything I've done. And my guiding principle is, put out the things that you would want to see or hear. And that's what I, stand by. But you want to know that people are enjoying it, right? That makes it even more worthwhile. And so I know from firsthand experience, like, how much that can really galvanize you and carry you through a day. So I'm really glad. I got to say one more thing about the AR crew, Steve in particular. You'll appreciate this. As I think you've gotten a sense of this, Odo is not easily impressed.
Yeah,
but I got to tell you, when we were out there in the parking lot, and I think he brought up your lineup of artists who were there sketching. He was impressed. He said,
"Oh, yeah."
He said, and it's fun. Like, this is going to sound like it's a knock on you, but it's not. It's just the way he is. He said it like with this air of disbelief of like, those are real artists. I was like, yeah, like, And Tom Rainey in particular, because I don't think he knew everyone's name off the top of his head, but Tom Rainey in particular was one that he definitely knew. And he was like, these are good artists. So he was very impressed, and that's not always easy to do.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm not going to screw around, man. I got the real deal up in here, man. Well, it's funny because, it was Tom Rainey, my close personal friend, Tom Rainey, Chris Campana, who I've become friends with over the years, and Jim Calafiore, who I've become friends with. And Tom and Jim are actually friends, outside of the industry. So, that was cool having them sitting next to each other, goofing around. And the fourth guy is my friend Ray Negron, who's still a student at the Kubert School. And, we used to do sketch parties and stuff, and we'd get some of the Kubert students and they're willing to work for free. And it's good for them to learn what it's like to be behind, the table, doing sketches, talking to people. So Ray had asked me months ago about it. And I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So he had assumed that it was going to be a couple other students or people who had just graduated. He walks in and there's Tom and Chris and Jim. And he was like, you sure you want me to sit down next to these guys? I'm like, yes, dude, you're my friend. You're a good artist. Like, have at it. You pick their brains, if you need advice. Like, they're three of the friendliest guys. And so each one of them is so goddamn talented, such good artists. But he was over the moon. I made those little name cards for them. And I printed out their names and put it on this little placard. At the end of the day, Ray was like, can I keep this, man? Because I think it was the first time he ever did any kind of sketch party. So yeah, he was so happy. He goes, you sat me next to these guys? I'm like, well, you're a friend of mine. You got the skill. You just need the experience. Consider this, XP, right now, experience points, man. You level up.
That's awesome.
I was glad I got to do that for him. But to watch his eyes bug out of his head when he realized who he was sitting next to, it was adorable.
I love it. That's great. Let's take a quick commercial break, and then we will continue. We'll be right back. Who do you call when you're in trouble? Alien invasion? Call Superman. Bank being robbed? Call Spider-Man. But who can you count on if you want to learn how to make a window bag? Philtastic Comics and Art is here to help. Whether it's fighting FOMO, talking about art, or baking wheat cakes, you can count on Philtastic for your comic and art-related infotainment needs. The best part? You don't even need a bat signal. Just look up Philtastic Comics and Art on YouTube. Subscribe today to keep up on everything Philtastic. If you're a fellow father out there, or if you're just interested in hearing a fun conversation, check out Shadadigans, a weekly podcast by dads sharing their dad experiences. Listen, relate, and laugh. One of the hosts has been a guest of this show, Justin DeVoe. In recent years, Justin has embarked on a truly remarkable fitness journey, which you can see for yourself on Instagram at RealLifeLobo. And if you're looking for guidance on your own fitness journey, check out at Iron and Honor. Film lovers and filmmakers should check out these festivals: Brightside Tavern in Jersey City, Hang On to Your Shorts in Asbury Park, Point Lookout on Long Island, and In the Cut in Bloomfield, New Jersey. Event details and submission info can be found at filmfreeway.com. Follow the fests on social media for updates on discounts, tickets, and more. Also, be sure to listen to the Hang On to Your Shorts and Cullen on Film podcasts, available via a shared universe network. Acme Comics is a locally owned and operated full-service comic book store in Greensboro, North Carolina for people of all ages and walks of life. Established in '83, this 9-time Eisner Award nominee uses their collective knowledge and resources to connect you with the best material available. They are ready and excited to assist you in navigating the wide world of comics. In addition to weekly new releases, graphic novels, and merchandise, they pride themselves on their significant contemporary and vintage back-issue selection. Mail order subscriptions to new releases are available. All offerings are available to anyone, anywhere via mail order. Follow Acme on social media and eBay, listen to the Acme Cast on all podcast services, and visit acmecomics.com for much more. Flat Squirrel Productions is an affiliate of BCW Supplies. The next time you need to restock on comic book bags, boards, boxes, and more, be sure to use promo code FSP to save 10% on your order. It helps support the show too. Thanks. And we're back. So a couple months ago, I posted in the Fat Moose Herd Facebook group, I put out a call for questions, not for questions, but for comments, testimonials, either in written or audio or video form. And I said, send me what you got, email them to me, and I'll work in as many as I can into the final episode of this podcast event. So I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to share what I got. So here we go.
Oh, geez.
That's it. There was nothing.
That was heard.
There were so many people liked and loved and hugged that post. No one sent me anything.
That's fine.
You know what? I'm only busting chops. I mean, it's true. No one sent me anything, but I'm only busting chops. The herd has been very supportive of my stuff and certainly of you. And I think that all of their love and all of their comments and all of their words, everything went into the store and the bash. And that's perfectly fine. And I'm very glad that we had Gene and Phil represent the herd in our last episode. And I got to tell you, Rich Roney and I keep joking about, him and Gene being, counterparts from parallel universes and all of that. And, again, Gene being disappointed that he missed out on, hanging out with the AR crew. I keep saying, I don't think that Rich and Gene could occupy the same physical space. The universe would implode. So I think it was all for the best.
Well, I wrote to you about this, but I'd like to make it public. Listening to that episode the 3 times that I have, you did a masterful job of balancing, giving, you'd be like, well, Phil, let me ask you about this. And then you let Phil say his piece. And then you go, all right, so Gene, what are your thoughts on, you were very good at making sure they both got equal time. Nobody overshadowed anybody. Everybody got to speak. You got to say your piece about things. And you did a hell of a job, man.
Oh, well, I thank you. I appreciated your message, and I appreciate you saying that. Now, it's funny because, as you know, I've been doing a lot of podcasting over these past couple of years, but that was the first 3-person podcast I had done in a really long, like everything that I've been doing over all this time that I've been doing remote podcasts, they've been one-on-ones. So It was a different dynamic. And at first I was like, whoa, like this is, I hadn't done this in a while. So I appreciate that. They were great. It was fun to get their perspective. And of course, in the prior episode to get Elon's, and we've gotten some nice feedback on that, which is really cool. What was it like having Elon at the show? How many days was he there for?
He was here Friday before the party. And then he was here for the party. The day before the party, I love Elon. And this is such an Elon thing. The day before the party, the Friday, was slow. So everybody was waiting for the party, So he was here for pretty much the whole day. He left for a little bit to check into his hotel room. Then he came back. And he mentioned a few times, like, is it always this slow on a Friday? Is it always this slow? I'm like, Elon, tomorrow's the 40th anniversary bash. Everybody's waiting for that. Nobody's going to come in tonight and be like, anyway, have a good time tomorrow. So we got to chat all day about the ins and outs of the business and the difference between the stores and reminisce about, when I worked for him back in the day. And he was giving me health tips because he was diagnosed with diabetes not too long ago. So he was like, the conditions you're talking about where you get sweaty and he goes, you might be pre-diabetic, And so he was giving me diet tips and things. And so we just sat down and just caught up. It was just chatting with an old friend, And then the best part was at the end of the day, the last 2 hours, everybody came in. Gene was here. Tom Hunter was here. A bunch of guys rolled up just that last minute. Hey, what do you need? Do you need something? Nick Jones came in because he drove from out of state. I forget where he lives.
He's in Massachusetts.
Okay. So he was here for the weekend. So he came, early that night with his kid. And then Gene got a couple of pizzas and some soda and everybody's hanging out. And I looked at Elon. I'm like, now this is what a Friday's usually like. But it was really cool that everybody came by just last minute to be like, what do you need? You need something moved? You need something clean? It got to the point the week or two leading up to the party that I had too many volunteers. I was like, there's nothing left to do. Everybody's like, well, what do you need? I'm like, it's done. Everybody, Nicole was here for 2 days helping me dust things and clean things. And I had so many volunteers that I didn't have enough work to go around. So that was very nice.
That's really nice. That's awesome to hear. And, you mentioned Nick Jones and Nick is someone who, none of us had any personal connection to. Like Justin DeVoe, he and I have a mutual friend in common. That's how we initially connected. But Nick Jones, I don't have that connection. He watched My Comic Shop Country like cold, I think. He came across it through a Film Threat, I think. And he has now, since that time, we've become friends, and he has ordered so much stuff from so many of the shops in the movie, particularly you and Escape Pod and Yeah. I think those are some of the big ones for him.
Yeah, those big three.
And he's traveled to a bunch of shops, including the ones in the movie and other ones. And it's astounding, and I think that, what I remind myself of is, if you don't have that kind of comic shop that's part of your routine, and I don't know specifically if he does or doesn't, I get the sense that he doesn't. And so if you don't have that, it's like, I could see why he gravitates so much to your store and some of those other shops. And it's really cool to see. And, he brought his son, just like Justin brought his son, and, they were like in the corner reading comics, and it was, it's nice to see sort of the next generation of that.
Yeah, Nick is awesome, man. He's become part of the family, one of us. He reached out to me actually today about something or other, an Aftershock comic, wondering if I was going to get the exclusive cover and stuff like that. Yeah, he's just super chill, man, super supportive. He brought me a can of Faygo because he is a juggalo. He's part of the Insane Clown Posse family. And when he wrote to me, he's like, "Oh, do you need anything?" I was like, "Can you bring me a Faygo?" That's like the official soda brand of the Juggalos and the ICP. So he brought me a root beer Faygo that I drank on Sunday with my turkey sandwich. And it was good, but I was just laughing. I'm like, of all the things, he's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "Just bring me a Faygo. I've never had one." And he, the weeks leading up to the party, he commissioned a bunch of Ghost Rider artwork from different artists. And I think, God, it's like 8 or 10 pieces in total. And they're all so good. And they're so great. And I got nowhere to put them. I'm totally out of wall space. So what I'm going to do is buy a little portfolio and put them in there. But he's like, "And here's this one by this guy, and here's this one by this guy." And each one was as good or better than the last. And I was like, "Why would you do all of this for me?" He's like, "I don't know, man. You're cool." I was like, all right, yeah, well, thanks, But yeah, he's become a friend, a long distance friend, but a friend nonetheless.
Yeah, for sure. He commissioned 2 Superman pieces for me, one by Franco and the other by Art Baltazar. They're awesome.
I've got a third one here for you.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you had left before he was able to get it. But yeah, I've got a little care package for you, that Superman box, the contentious Superman short box.
I feel so bad about that.
Ow, do not feel bad about that.
Wait,
and if anybody's wondering about it, it's a long ass story that's very boring. But I promised a box to Anthony, and some guy I never even heard of before got mad because I was holding on to a box for a friend of mine and he wanted to buy it. I'm like, "No, that's on hold for somebody." "Oh, you only take care of your friends?" I'm like, "I don't only take care of my friends, but I certainly put them first. They're my friends, But I have a copy of the Tom Rainey print in there for you, and the Superman piece from Nick in there too. So when our paths cross again, you'll have a little box of goodies.
Yes. No, I look forward to that. And it's been 2 years, I guess, since we've been in person. It won't be that long. I think maybe later this spring or certainly summer, I'll make another trip over. And what else?
I was a little bummed you didn't bring Steph and Milo, but I completely understand why.
But I mean, that's one of those things on a quieter non-anniversary day. Yeah. No, I would. Yeah. No, I would. And I mean, he wears his mask, so that would be fine. But what did I want to ask you? Was there anyone who came through specifically that day, that Saturday, that you were just like, "Wow, I did not expect to see this person"?
I don't think so. The one person that I'm very glad showed up, and I had hoped he showed up, and I figured he'd show up, was Pat Milligan, I refer to him as my comic shop Yoda. He used to own Pegasus Enterprises in Boonton, my first comic shop, which I speak about in the documentary. And he closed in 2002. He was the one who recommended checking out Fat Moose because I was going to just start a box at Zap because I lived in Lincoln Park. Zap was in Wayne, right next door. And he goes, "Well, travel up the road to Fat Moose. It's 10 minutes further than this place, but he's a friend of mine, Elon, and I became a customer, then an employee, and now the goddamn owner." But Pat is still like one of my favorite people. And he always tells it to me straight. He taught me how to do this, basically. So he was here, and I said to him, like, I'm so glad you're here. I wasn't sure. And he said, what are you, nuts? How could I not be here for this? You know? So there was a moment where I just kind of hung back, and I see there's Pat with Elon and one of my customers, Rich Olson, who used to be a customer at Pegasus, and my customer, Rick Rubenstein, and they all know each other. They're all around the same age, and they were all kind of congregated, having a conversation. And I felt like a kid again. I felt like, you know, that kid hanging at the comic shop watching the old guard talk about stuff, you know? But yeah, I was very glad that Pat was here. My mom came through with my stepfather, and they hung out for a while. My dad came up from Tom's River. We was also up here because my niece was going to be doing some dance performance that night. So he came up for that. I was like, you're just here because you're coming up anyway. He's like, no. So my dad was here for a bit, but there was nobody that really, I mean, I was happy to see Steve and Rich Roney. I didn't expect them, but it was cool that they were here. But there was nobody that where it was like, oh my God, it's, you know, the ghost of Elvis. Like there was, you know, but it was still cool to see so many different people. There are some people I know who'd never been here before. My friend Randy Shamber, who owns a Shamrock School of Music. I've done a lot of work with them over the years, volunteer stuff, you know, helping them with gigs and teaching and things. So he came by. He's like, I've never seen your store. I figured what better time than, you know, when everybody else is here. But it was just really good. It was a great turnout. And again, like I said earlier, not too crazy. Because I said to Justin a day or two before, I'm like, it's just you and me that day. What if it gets nuts? Like, you know, and he's like, well, if it gets nuts, we handle it. Because that's what we do. It's you and me against the world, man. We're gonna make it work. And he was MVP, dude. I told him originally, you do the register for an hour, then I'll take over for an hour, and then we'll swap. He did the register almost exclusively all day because I was so busy talking to people, you know, and hosting and making sure everybody's got what they need, make sure the artists have some water, make sure everybody got some snacks. And Justin held it down. He killed it, man. There was a moment where I was like, you need a break. He's like, yeah. I said, go outside, get some fresh air, you know, go grab a coffee or something if you want. I got this. So for about a half hour, I was exclusively behind the counter. But for the most part, Justin knocked it right out of the park, man.
Yeah, shout out to Justin. I thought that was a very nice touch that you included Justin's avatar of Static Shock on the Fat Moose poster that Tom Rainey drew. Very nice.
Oh, I guess we should actually tell people what the damn poster is, right?
Go for it.
All right. Well, originally, I wanted Tom to draw me and Matt and Scott and Elon, the four owners, as some sort of superheroes or something, you know. And Tom said, listen, I don't really like doing likenesses because if somebody thinks, oh, that doesn't look like me at all, you know, he's like, that's why I don't do licensed books and things. I don't want to do likenesses. So I said, all right, better yet, let's all choose a character that we love to represent us. So I reached out to Elon. He wanted the Silver Surfer, which, you know, if you said, I'll give you $1,000 to name what character he would pick, I wouldn't have known. So he was like, I want the Silver Surfer. He's one of my favorites. I was like, okay. Scott wanted Highlander, which technically is a likeness because it's Christopher Lambert. But the thing is, you can kind of skate past that a little. You do the hair and the sword and the kilt, and you got a Highlander, you know. Matt, I didn't even ask Matt. I knew it would be Captain America. I know that's his number one guy, bar none. And then I chose Ghost Rider. And I told Tom, I want 1970s Johnny Blaze Ghost Rider. None of these spikes and chains and all this stuff that they've retrofitted him with over the years. To me, spikes and chains, that's Dan Ketch. That's the 90s. My Johnny Blaze didn't need any of that crap. I want 70s Ghost Rider. And then I said, I got to include Justin. He's been such a big help over the past couple of years. So I thought he would choose Batman or Daredevil or Spider-Man. He threw me a curveball and he chose Static Shock. And it was great. It's a weird assortment of characters to have on one page, you know?
Well, you guys are a weird assortment of characters, so it all works.
How dare you, sir. But it was great because I told Tom about it and he's like, cool, you know, I got some Green Lantern pages I got to finish and then I'll get started. And then being the hell of a guy that he is, he sent me 3 sketches, 3 layouts. And he's like, pick which layout you dig. And I chose the one that I liked, which is the one we ended up going with. But leading up to it, every customer that came in, I'm like, you want to see the preliminary sketches? Like, tell me which one would you pick? Which one would you pick? And I think just about everybody chose the same one. They're like, oh, this one. Because it was the only one with Ghost Rider on the motorcycle. I'm like, he's not Ghost Walker. He's Ghost Rider. I want the motorcycle in that, which is exponentially more work for Tom to draw a damn motorcycle. But he killed it, man. It's such a gorgeous piece of work.
So this is now,
said, I bought the original, so.
And you bought the original. I love that. I know you were. Is this part of, or is this totally separate from the Aftershock exclusive retailer cover that you were getting?
Yeah, the timing didn't work out.
Gotcha.
Tom had commitments to do the Green Lantern pages, and Aftershock needed the artwork like weeks in advance. And it's funny because that book, Midnight Rose, was going to be the book written by Jim Starlin. And that I got it in this afternoon because it goes on sale tomorrow, which, as people are listening to this, is way in the past. But it was just too complicated. They needed to approve the artwork. And then, not only that, I would have to buy X amount of books.
And you would not be able to use Static Shock and Captain America and Silver Surfer.
And the book itself, it's a square bound one shot. I think it's like $7.99 or $5.99. So I would have to pay Tom for the work. Then I'd have to pay Aftershock for the books. And I figured this way we just cut them out for now. And I just pay Tom for the art. And he actually, being once again a stand-up guy, he printed out the piece. Because I told him, I was like, hey, as soon as the work is done, send me a high-res scan or however we do this. Maybe you have a device on the best place to go to get this printed or what's a good price. He goes, no. I do this all the time for conventions. He goes, I'll get it printed. How many copies do you need? And then we'll settle up that day. So I didn't have to do a damn thing. All I did was choose we chose the characters. I chose the layout. And then Tom drew it. His wife was going to color it, but I think she was having problems with her hand or something. So Tom drew it, inked it, colored it digitally, got it printed, and then just showed up that day with the copies. It was so cool. I was like, oh my God, is there thank you so damn much. But that's the kind of guy he is, So we settled up for the copies, and then I bought the damn piece. Because when I opened the box originally, the original piece was on top. I thought it was a print. And I was like, oh, I thought he was going to color it. All right, so it's black and white. It's gorgeous. And then I was like, oh, cool. How many of these did you make? He goes, no, that's the original. The copies are underneath. So I picked it up and looked and saw the color copies. I'm like, oh, all right, cool. I'm like, wait, so you brought the original? He goes, yeah. I'm like, so I'm buying this. He goes, I thought you might want to. And I'm like, yeah. So towards the end of the day, we settled up, and I have to get it professionally, matted and framed. That's not the kind of thing you go to Walmart and get a $10 frame for. There's a little place up the street. I want to support local businesses. I'm going to bring it to them when I get a chance and get it framed up nice.
It's funny because as I'm staring at a Superman piece by Francis Manapul that I got at New York Comic Con 2010. And I went to get it framed at the Scarsdale Gallery on Central Avenue, just less than a minute from where AR used to be. And I remember I brought it in. It cost me as much to frame it as it did for the piece itself. And I remember that when I was talking with the guy and he was going through the different options, I didn't want to spend that much. And I felt like, wow, how can I spend as much on the frame as I did on the piece? And so I went with a lesser framing option and I left and I picked up dry cleaning. And I remember standing at the dry cleaners. I'm like, wait a minute, what are you doing? Like, you're going to have this on your wall indefinitely. And it's your favorite character and it's a beautiful piece. Just spend the money and it'll be worth it. And so I went back to the framing store, and I remember I went back there and I was like, listen, I changed my mind. And I could tell from the look on his face that he thought I didn't want to get anything. And I was like, no, I want to do that first option we talked about. And I did. And you know what? From my childhood home to my apartment to the apartment that my wife and I first shared to our current house now, it's been up on the wall every place. And I'm glad that I went with that.
Yeah, I'm not going to half step it with this one, because I do want to find a prominent place in my house. I mean, I could hang it here, but it has to be home with me. It needs to be in my home. Yeah. I'm totally out of wall space, but I'll move something around. I had to move around. I bought where I got a Batman print from Chris Campagna that he had posted on Facebook a while back. And I remember writing to him, like, I need that. I need one of those. So now that he was here in person, he made sure to bring one for me. I'm like, thank you. So I actually took down a different piece by a different artist who I won't name and replaced it with that. now I got to find room for the other one. I've got just a portfolio, not as many pieces as like a Dave O'Hare has. I remember your interview with him. He said he's got a couple hundred unframed pieces, but mine are definitely building up. I need a bigger house, I guess.
There you go.
Just for the wall space.
That's the thing. Space will always get you. Did any of the other New Jersey comic shops like reach out to you and wish you happy anniversary? I'm just curious if you heard from any of the shops in the area.
Not that I recall. Some of the other store owners have clicked like on a few of the pictures and stuff. Gotcha. But yeah, what we did receive though was a congressional recognition piece of paper thingy. A representative of Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill came here. I think Phil might have set that up, if I recall correctly. But she had called me and said, hey, we're going to come by and present you with this little thing, just in recognition of 40 years of a local business. And it was a funny moment because I was in the back room having a cocktail and everybody's calling me like, Shawn, come out here, Shawn. So it being the weekend after the infamous slap at the Oscars, I came out of the back room and I went, keep my name out your... And then I look and there's this woman standing there with the congressional thing. I'm like, oh, hello, how are you? But it's cool. We took some pictures and she presented an official presentation. Another thing I have to get framed. And then she hung out for a good 20 minutes just asking about the store, the history of it, how I came to own it. She's very pleasant. I forget her name. I apologize. But yeah, she was a representative of Mikey Sherrill. And that was kind of cool to get like an official little proclamation, a little like, hey, you exist. Here's the thing, So that was very cool. Yeah, that's really nice recognition. I do believe Phil Tastic set that up. He had messaged me and he had said, like, what time are you going to be there? Because I have some local officials coming. And I remember I was like, what? But so yeah, that I really like that. And continuing along this bit about gifts. So I'm curious how many bottles you walked away with. And I contributed one to the cause. I brought you a bottle of Maker's 46, which is a personal favorite of mine. I hope you enjoy. But how many bottles did you leave with? I have to imagine that you're going to be well stocked up for a long time. Well, the bottle you gave me is actually at my house. I've been nipping on that one for the past week or so. I didn't get a ton of bottles. I got some nice Kraken dark rum. I got a nice little bottle of Roca Patron tequila. I got a bottle of Four Roses bourbon, a bottle of mead, which it's like honey wine with cinnamon and apple. It's really good, but not a ton. But as we're recording this, my birthday is in like 3 days, so I'm expecting another supply run of alcohol to the shop. At least I hope so. If not, whatever. I got a job. I could buy my own alcohol. That's true. Yeah. Now, again, by the time people hear this, your birthday will have passed. But as we're recording this, it's just a few days away. Now, obviously, you just had this huge bash. But how are you planning to celebrate the big 5-0? I'm going to be sitting behind the counter at the register. Like, there's nothing I can do, man. The store's got to be open. I'm not going to close the store. Well, like afterwards at night. Go home, drink myself into a mild coma. Like there's nothing, Nicole's still not, super comfortable out and about. That day she came here, you had already left when Nicole showed up. And she was just kind of like, there's a lot of people here. And I was like, look, just hang out behind the counter. This way you have that little, distance, But she ended up going around and talking to people. And some of our mutual friends showed up who had never been to the shop before. And that was cool. But my birthday, believe me, I would love to make a big deal out of it. I'm turning 50. Who the hell saw that coming? But I don't even, Nicole said, look, we've been together 13 years. What do you want for your birthday? I was like, I don't need anything. It's like, there's never a guy that needed, I need the biggest TV or the best car or whatever. I don't, as long as what I have works and gets the job done, I'm fine. So, but she's always been a very good gift giver. She'll get me things I didn't even know I wanted. So I'll be curious to see. But no, I have to work, man. I have to, the show must go on. I mean, at least I get Sunday off for Easter and then that Monday off. So, no plans. Just going to hang out and do what I do. That's about it.
Right
But I
on.
wanted to tell you, as much fun as the party was, the week after decided to kick me around a little bit because I guess I had too much fun. So the week after the sale, after the party, there were 3 bad things. Well, one was a potential bad thing. The first thing was the DC books didn't show up until Thursday of that week. It wasn't Lunar's fault. I thought it was. I was emailing them like, what the hell are you guys doing? You're making Diamond look good. And that's almost impossible. They wrote back to like, hey, pal, here's the information. We sent those out last week because I usually get them about a week early. They go on sale Tuesday. I didn't get mine until Thursday. So that was just kind of annoying. I'm like, where are my books? When are my books coming? You know, I got people asking, well, where's the books? And all my customers, they know it's not up to me. Like, you always get maybe one outlier, like, but where? Why don't you have them? I'm like, dude, it's not up to me. So that sucked. And the Thursday after the sale, there was torrential rains. And there's a creek in the back. And, you know, months ago, it flooded a little bit. Bottom 2 or 3 stairs got wet. So that's why I tore out that carpet and got the new carpet. So I was just like, oh my God, is it going to get wet again? Am I going to have to tear out the new carpet? You know, and so that was stressful. Thankfully, it didn't get wet. Everything was fine. But that night at home was just stress because I was like, I don't know tomorrow when I go to the shop. I don't know what I'm going to be walking into. So that thankfully worked out well. But the stress was there of worrying, you know. And then the biggest thing, as we discussed earlier, Justin's aunt died on the Wednesday after the party. And, you know, I'm not going to go into a ton of it, but she raised him. His mother died when he was very young. And his aunt took him in, raised him up. They lived together, and she had been sick for a while, and she was getting better. They were going to send her home with a nurse to, you know, take care of her. And then she took a bad turn Tuesday night, and the hospital called them and said, you should probably come and say your farewells. And then she passed on Wednesday morning. So that's the big one. I screw carpet and screw the DC books. You know, the big thing was my buddy Justin lost the woman who raised him. So that was very rough. And that took him off the board. He's like, look, I got to handle all this. I said, yeah, absolutely. Go get everything sorted. And, you know, I was just at the service a few days ago. So that's the main thing, you know, worrying about Justin, hoping he can get through. And I told him, I was like, I don't expect you to work, but if you want to come in and even just hang out, be amongst your friends, you know, talk about the new episode of Moon Knight or whatever, you know, this is a happy place for you. I said, even if you want to come in, because he's got some family staying with him to get everything done. And he was saying how he's like, I don't have a moment to myself. I was like, dude, come into the shop, sit in the back room, fire up the big screen TV, close the curtains, have a drink if you want, whatever. Even if you sit in the back, read a couple comics, I'll leave you the hell alone. This is a safe place. Sit, decompress, you know. So I don't know. He had said to me that, you know, he's planning on maybe coming in on Wednesday for New Comic Book Day. And I said, if you don't want to, you don't have to, obviously. If you feel like it, if you want to work, cool. You just want to hang out, cool. You come in for an hour and it's too much and you want to go home. So whatever you want to do, man. You know, he's had my back left, right, and center for the past couple of years. So the least I can do is reciprocate, you know?
Yeah, no, I hear you. And well, you know, I've spoken with Justin over Facebook, but here on the podcast as well, just I wanted to express my condolences. Very, very sorry for his loss. And, you know, he's written some very, you know, beautiful tributes to his aunt. And you really see, you know, how meaningful that relationship was. Like you said, she raised him. And that's, yeah, it's a very generous offer that you made. And hopefully he takes you up on it and it provides a little bit of, you know, of relief, you know, for him in a very difficult time.
Well, that's what I like about this place is people like just are happy to be here. You know, I got a few customers who are working from home and they look forward to Wednesday. They're like, oh my God, I get to go out of the house. I get to hang out here. Maybe we have a drink, talk about this movie or that comic or whatever. You know, it's just, as we've established, you know, this is a hangout. People, you know, I don't, it's not, hey, what do you need? All right, good. Give me your money. Now get the hell out. People are welcome to stay as long as they want. Until closing, and then it's get the hell out because I've been here for 10 hours. I want to go home. You know?
Yeah, you got to draw the line. Were there people who stayed the entire day for the bash?
Yeah, a couple of them.
Nice.
Yeah, and then at the end of the day, they were helping me clean up. And at a certain point, the stuff left to do was stuff only I can really do. I know where I want to put this thing or move that. So I told everybody, like, I'm good. They're like, well, you just need this. I'm like, guys, I appreciate all the help. I mean, I didn't get out of here. We closed at 6. I don't think I left till about 9. But there's a certain point where it was just everybody left. I was here alone and I got to breathe. I got to have that moment of like, okay, I put on some music. I had a drink and I just kind of decompressed and then went home and promptly started dozing off on the couch.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And I know you did address this a little bit in the YouTube video that you did. And again, I wouldn't expect you to give numbers like Elon would, but it was but it was a good day. It was a good day business wise for you.
Yeah, no, it was fine. And again, like I said in my video, I don't care. It was never about the money. You know, it was about just having that day, having that party, having people here, acknowledging the history of the store. 2 things about Elon. One, he texted me about 2 days later. He's like, so how'd you do? I'm like, oh, we did pretty good. He's like, yeah, but so how'd you do? Like, how much? I'm like, you want a number? Like, I'm not telling you my business, you know? He goes, well, did you make over, X amount? And I was like, yes, we made over this amount that, and he goes, oh, that's great. That's so great. But I love the audacity of Elon, just be like, so I'm like, what do you want to see the receipts? Like, I'm not telling you how much I made, But the other thing was that day, it was so fun watching him because I have so many people that he's never even met. He's been gone since 2014, walking around going, hi, I'm Elon. I'm the original Moose. None of this would be here without me. Just really, really soaking in the glory of, I built this. This was mine, But he, to his credit, he was very complimentary on that Friday when he came in. He's like, I could see the pictures online. I see the videos you make. He's like, but to be in here and to see what you did with the place and to think, man, why didn't I think of that? Why, I could have done this. I could have done that, But I'm only partially, responsible for how the store looks. I mean, when Scott took it over, he did a lot of work. And then Matt did a lot of work. And then I just improved upon that,
Yeah. Well, the store really does look great. And that was one of the things I wanted to ask you about Elon. Not so much him meeting new customers, but him reconnecting with older customers who did know him, and maybe those who didn't have the most favorable final impression of him. And like Elon and I talked about this in the episode that we did, and what he thought that dynamic would be like when he ran into them. And again, we've covered this about how, especially towards the end of his tenure there, he wasn't as plugged in, and some of those relationships suffered a little bit. So based on, again, I'm not asking you to speak for him or the customers, but just based on what you observed, like, did it seem like those reunions, especially with the old herd, went well? Like, were they happy to see him? What was the vibe like?
Yeah, no, everybody was super chill. I mean, the one concern I had, and anybody who's listening to this is probably listening to the previous episode where Gene discusses that he and Elon maybe didn't quite click when he was working for him. They got along fine. They had a long conversation, no animosity. I mean, it was so long ago. And I think I may have said to each of them separately, like, dude, just be cool. Maybe you guys had some problems in the past. That's over. It was a long time ago. And this day isn't about any of that. This day's about me. No. No, when I said, please, this is stressful enough. I don't want to have to worry that you guys are going to be at loggerheads about something or, But no, everybody was super chill. Everybody was just in a great mood. I didn't see anybody walk out of here disappointed or upset about anything. I think everybody had a great time.
Good. No, I'm glad to hear that. Yeah, I got to, Elon was there, obviously, when I was there. I got to see him. Who else? I got to meet Scott. I believe that was the first time I had met him. I saw customer Sal, who I'm Facebook friends with. But I got
Sal's great, man. Sal's a good dude.
And he was digging through some back issue bins. I'm sure at least a few others who I'm forgetting or I didn't know by name. There's one customer who looks so familiar, but I don't know his name. But he saw the 3 AR guys in the parking lot, and he was like, "Oh, like I really enjoyed you in the movie and in the podcast and everything." And it was, it's like with Steve and Rich in particular. I don't know. I mean, they appreciate it. I don't know that it lights their fire all that much. I feel like maybe if some of the other guys had been there, they would have, maybe kind of basked in that a little bit more, but it was still, it was so nice. And, look, I've said it a million times, but the Moose really is the closest that I found in terms of the vibe to what we had. So and it's not like we've had so many opportunities for a crossover like that. So it's cool.
That was great having, I'd like wished a few more AR guys were able to pop in. But it was great. I mean, you guys basically are the big three as far as I'm concerned with AR, you know?
Well, sure. I mean, I mean, Odo, of course, we wouldn't be here without him, and Rich Roney, the elder statesman, the Alan Scott of alternate realities.
You guys are the big three. I know a while back, Dr. Bill Mayo was talking about, but he's in what, New Mexico?
Yes.
Yeah. So I didn't expect him, you know, it would have been mind blowing if he rolled up, but no, it was so great. I knew you were coming, you know. But Steve and Rich, like I had hoped they were coming, but you know, I had no expectations. Like I said before with Pat Milligan, I had hoped he'd be here. You know, he's like the guy who taught me how to do this. But yeah, that was a fun moment. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad you made it. He goes, what are you kidding me? Why wouldn't I? Of course I'm here, you know? Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is all your damn fault. If you didn't recommend Fat Moose, I'd just have a box over at Zap now.
I know you said that, you know, seeing your, you know, the former owners together made you feel like a kid again, but what is the dynamic like now? Because now you are an owner yourself. Like, do you feel like you're all on a level playing field now that as owners, or do you really fall back into that old pattern of like, I feel like a kid and they're the bosses or the mentors?
No, I fully embraced, being a dread overlord here. You know, I still look up to them and I still ask advice when I need it, you know, but I've been working my ass off for 2 years and change, and it's going pretty well. And I feel completely justified in saying, hey, I'm one of you guys. Like I'm here. I'm in the trenches, man. I'm boots on the ground. I'm doing this, you know, but I still value their counsel as it were, you know.
Gotcha. So, all right, this was number 40. So 50 will be coming up in a decade. But no, now that you're past the 40th anniversary, and look, we talked about this before, but you know, you took over as owner at probably the worst possible time, like 3 months before a global pandemic. That's still not over, but you know, we seem to be coming out the other side of that. You've got a couple of years now under your belt as owner. You just celebrated this huge anniversary. And I know you always say you're not a planner, but I'm just curious. And we've brought this up before, but now that maybe there's a little bit more room to breathe, what do you have in mind for the future of Moose? Either things that you're looking to, or is it just, you know, kind of stay the course and just keep building, or new initiatives you want to try? Like what are your plans?
I mean, the big thing that I want to do, and it's just a matter of finding the time. I've got boxes of stuff here. You know how comic shops are, man. I got boxes of back issues under tables. And so, but I want to get everything priced and get everything out. I've got books nobody's seen, nothing that's going to blow the roof off, but just, you know, actually I had a customer come in, one of my regulars, and a few weeks ago, he set some books aside that he was like, hey, can I look through this box? I said, look, nothing's priced, nothing's organized, but he pulled out, you know, a short stack of books. And I said, listen, let me get through the party I don't have time to price this stuff right now. I said, I'll hold on to it for you when I get a chance. So he came in last Wednesday and he's like, did you get to price those yet? I was like, I really didn't. He goes, look, I got the little comic collector app, Comic Key. I don't know what the hell it's called. And he goes, we'll stand here. It was a slow time of day for a Wednesday. It was like middle of the day. And he goes, we'll stand here and we'll price them together. We'll go through the app. I'll show you, you know, what they're going for. And these books that I were like, oh, these are just common books, were 10, 15, 20 bucks a pop. And it came to over $200 worth of stuff for this short stack of back issues that I didn't realize were worth anything. Because I'm old enough now where I see stuff from the 90s. To me, it still feels new. I'm like, oh, that garbage. Some of that garbage is actually going for a couple of bucks. So I said, holy crap, you know, I'm probably sitting on a good chunk of money. And it behooves me to get off my ass and get this stuff priced and get this stuff out. It's just, you know, I'm so damn busy all the time. But that's the main thing. I want to get everything in the store out for sale. That's the main thing. As far as events and things, you know, as people hear this, free comic book day will have come and gone. That one, I'm just doing the free books, and I'll probably, put some stuff on sale, but I'm not going to have artists, guests and things. It's just too much. I just did it. So I'm not doing that again. It's just amazing that just about every day somebody comes in here for the first time. I think Saturday, 3 different people were in here for the first time. And they're like, well, I heard about the place. I saw it on Google. I saw good reviews on Google or this and that. And it's growing. It's, it's the blessing and the curse. The blessing is it's growing. I'm getting more people. The curse is, holy crap, there's a lot more people, which means I'm busier, which means less time to do the things like pricing back issues and whatnot, So, and now, especially with Justin being, dealing with the real world with the death of his aunt and everything, I'm here by myself until such time as he's ready and able to come back to work. Because when he's here, it's great. I can go hide in the back, fire up the big screen TV and price stuff and be mostly left alone. Although it is that kind of thing, the curse of being liked, I suppose, where people come in and they go, hey, where's Shawn? Oh, he's in the back. And then they come back, hey, what's going on? Just working. And then 20 minutes go by while did you see the new episode of, so it's nice being liked, but sometimes you're like, I don't get a moment to myself much anymore. And that's fine. It beats the alternative of being like, wow, there's no customers at all. I've got nothing but time on my hands. So I will never complain about, being distracted by customers, because that's the whole point,
Yeah. I mean, look, that's a good problem to have. And it goes hand in hand, right? Like that's in large part, I mean, yes, they're coming for a certain product, but it's that atmosphere, as we've talked about so many times, that keeps them coming back and that engenders such goodwill and loyalty. And so sort of, I guess the price to pay for that is they want FaceTime with the man. But I mean, the typical routine at AR all the time on Wednesdays on New Comic Book Day would be, he would have at least a couple of us, not at least, usually it was 2 of us working the register, right? We break down the shipment, and then we, myself and Steve Ryan, or myself and Darby, and we'd be running the register. And the plan always, every Wednesday, was Steve was going to go into the back and do work while we worked the register and manned the front. And he almost never got back there because he would always inevitably get pulled into conversations, just hold court, like at that folding table in the middle of the store. And, where the line was between people sort of pulling him versus him sticking around, I don't know, it's kind of a blurry line, but that was the thing all the time. The intention was always to go in the back and do work. And inevitably every Wednesday it was him holding court in the middle of the store.
Yeah. It's the reality of it. I had one of my regular customers. He's newish, maybe been shopping here for a year or 2. Mikey, he's a really good guy. He came in, I think, the Tuesday after the sale. He likes to come in Tuesday and give me a little list of like, hey, if you can get this, if you have this variant or whatever. And he's like, man, how are you feeling after that? Because he was here that day. I go, what do you mean? He's like, ugh, you were on fire that day. You're zipping here, zipping there, talking to this person, shaking this hand, having a drink with this guy, go over here, talking, He's like, you must have been wiped out. I was like, I was fine until it was over. I was on autopilot. I was the adrenaline was going, but he was like, man, you were like at 10 all day. I was like, yeah, I was basically, ultra Shawn for, the entirety of it. Cause you have to be, and we've discussed in the past, you gotta be on, as it were, and as a lifelong performer, I can always tap into that and be like, okay, it's time to sing and dance for the people. And, it wears you down, but it's inevitably, it's a good thing. Everybody has a good time. People walk out of here happy. There was a guy in here earlier with his daughter. He was in on Saturday. He's just getting back into comics, and we're chit chatting. I'm showing him a few things, and he was just here Saturday. Came back today. He's like, I want to pick up a few more things. And I heard him talking to his daughter. He's like, I don't know if he knows that I heard him, but he's like, we got to come back here more. He's like, we're going to start coming here more. He's like, I want to come in on like Saturday, and we're going to have to spend a couple hours here because there's a lot of cool stuff. And I heard him, and I was like, hey man, there's treasures all over this place. There's stuff here that I don't even know what's here. I was like, feel free to dig through whatever you want. But I love that though. I love that for people. They don't just come in and be like, all right, where are my polls for the week? All right, good to see you. Take it easy. They come in and hang out, and they come in and they, I'll have a box on the floor and it's not priced. Can I, look through? I'm like, all right, go ahead. Anything you want. We'll look up the prices. We'll figure it out. Unless it's like a Wednesday where I'm busy. It's like, dude, give me what you're interested in and I'll price it when I get a chance. I can't, Wednesdays are not the day for such nonsense.
Right. Well, listen, I mean, how many shops get to celebrate 40 years, period?
This one, baby.
Let alone after these past couple of years and with changes in ownership and all sorts of stuff. So it's such an accomplishment. I'm so happy for you that you saved your store and it's still standing and everyone was able to come together. And, I guess, so I just celebrated a birthday as well as 35. So not a huge milestone birthday, but
yeah, it was like
a minor one.
Is it like yesterday as we record
as of this recording? It was Friday, this past Friday.
35, huh?
Yeah, but the thing
older than you, man.
Yeah, but the thing that getting older, you recognize is that those moments when you have so many people who mean something to you together in one place, and especially like you mentioned, like your parents being there, and people from different corners of your life. I mean, I've had that really in a few instances. The wedding was certainly one, and some of the screenings and things like that have been another instance. And it's kind of weird and surreal when you see people from college and law school and work and comic shop. It's like, but it can be a little weird initially, but it's like you realize later, I guess, like those opportunities are few and far between, and so you appreciate them. And like I'm sure this will be a memory that you'll always look back on. So I'm so glad that you were able to create that moment and that event. And again, congratulations.
Thanks, man. We pulled it off. It was wonderful. It was great. I had an awesome time, and I'm so goddamn glad it's in the rearview mirror now. Back to normal, back to business. It was great, and thankfully I don't have to do it again anytime soon because it damn near killed me.
So, is there anything else that you'd like to say before we sign off here?
I don't know, man. It was a long day today, getting all the books ready for tomorrow. I got a small stack of stuff I want to go home and read. I'm hoping by the time I get home and take a shower and everything, I'm not too tired to read. I've noticed as I get older now, my eyes are starting to get a little wonky. So I'm gonna have to get some cheaters or something. There's a few books where the font is so damn small where I'll take a picture with the iPad and just go panel to panel like Comixology, and I'll just blow it up, enhance and then move along to the next panel. But no, I thank you for coming, and the AR guys for coming, and everybody who participated, everybody who contributed, everybody who brought me stuff, because Lord knows I love gifts. Yeah, it was just a great time. I'm very happy everybody enjoyed it. And again, it ain't going to happen again anytime soon.
Well, hopefully we'll see you for the 50th. But in the meantime, congratulations again. And thank you to our audience here for joining us for this 4-part event. This concludes Oldest in New Jersey. I hope that everyone has a great summer. We're going to take a little hiatus, but My Comic Shop History will be back in the fall with a multi-part event featuring Lord Retail, Jermaine Exum himself, the current owner, like yourself. He went from staff member to owner of Acme Comics in Greensboro, North Carolina. So I will be speaking to Jermaine over multiple episodes. It should be really interesting. So make sure that you come back for that this fall. And of course, in the meantime, please check out my Superman show, Digging for Kryptonite, a Superman fan journey. We've got a lot of really great stuff that's already out and great stuff that's coming up. So I really hope you will check it out on all major podcast platforms. So thank you again to Shawn, Elon, Gene, Phil, everyone who's been part of this. Shout out to the entire Fat Moose herd, even though no one sent in submissions for this episode. It's all good.
You lazy bastards.
But really, thank you, everyone. Make sure you keep tuning in. And of course, as always, remember, don't be a flat squirrel. Support the show and receive exclusive bonus episodes at patreon.com/Anthony Desiato. Check out my Superman podcast, Digging for Kryptonite, a Superman fan journey, available on all major podcast platforms. And be sure to watch the documentary film My Comic Shop Country on Amazon, Apple TV, and CuriosityStream.